Good evening. Part two, Volkswagens. You wouldn't believe how long it took me to gather everything and put together. And I hate to let everybody know this will probably be a long one. It'll probably be too long for the bulk of y'all, and that's fine. But we did a lot of the nicer or remaining carded VWs that I had in last night's video. Tonight we're going to do kind of a quick go over of my outstanding VW collection minus the Jada slug bugs and the majorettes that I do have. There's a handful of Volkswagens. And I have not opened these cubes up yet. They're going to stay up here on the shelf, but I will cut the cases open and pull the base out and put them on the turntable. That way I can get a good look at them. And one of them is actually, I'm not sure if you can see it in the pan view of the camera, but it's the Golf, shorty bus. But a little bit of everything, Matchbox, Hot Wheels, and some of these cars you've already seen in some of my videos. They're a more detailed review, but we're still going to go over them anyway. Because this should be everything that I have, minus what I showed you guys last night. And then, like I said, minus the Majorette and Jadas that I do have. So I'll try to keep them fairly quick. I'll put the turntable up here on the black screen, try to give you all the best light. Not all the bags are labeled. The ones that are labeled, I'll try to give you all the best description that I have of where the cars come from and, how I acquired them, if you will. Manufacturer, model run, item number, model number, what have you. So this should be a real treat for a lot of you VW guys and diecast, VW guys. I'll try to mix it up. I won't, go from left to right or right to left. I'll just try to make sure that I'm kind of mixing brands, but I'll put everything back more or less where it was. I'm going to set the turntable up right here in front of us just so we can get a good view of everything. And let's get started. So, Diversified Diecasts. This is a VW Mini Series Part 2. Hope this is a really good one. I hope you guys like it. Not going to try to speed through it. I'll try to be brief just so it doesn't drag out too long. But it will be a long one. So if you have to, save and watch later. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. Anything helps. Like, comment, share. Let your friends know. Family, your neighbor, your mailman. Doesn't matter. I don't care how word gets spread, but let's get the channel to grow. And if it takes what it takes to take forever or do it fast, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to get the information out there. So give me just a minute. We're going to pause the video. I'll get set up and we'll get cracking. Okay, so this was a model kit from M2. I didn't write anything on a bag for it. Looks to be like a early 60s VW bug. Maui & Sons. It did come with a teal lift. I do have spare tires and wheels for it. I want to say this is a 23 or a 24, and I got it at Walmart. I always love the kind of the gray or vanilla, white VWs, and this thing really just kind of came calling to me. I didn't really want to buy it as a model kit, but M2 does make some pretty nice VW Beetles, and I wanted to add this into the collection. So that's a short rundown on this one. We'll go to the next one. Okay, this is a Hot Wheels Premium. I want to say this is a 22 or 3 release year. It's from the Deutschland or one of those the German series. I guess it kind of replicates like a Porsche repair company. I thought this thing was cool and rad because it was red. It was in the weeds. It was on the ground, and I don't think I have. I had to think about this for a minute. Obviously, this is the only one I see here. This is the only Hot Wheels Premium, VW bus I have. So, again, really nice detail. The livery on it's really cool. Obviously, there is an affiliation between Volkswagen and Porsche. If you don't know that, you just got to do some research and crack open that history book. But really nice. This thing rolls sweet. It is literally probably an 1/8 inch off the ground. I've only had this one probably about a month. It was a Facebook buy from one of the guys I bought from once or twice. Okay, this little guy here, I'm pretty sure I got him in a trade. It's almost perfect. I would say it's a blister pull, and if it wasn't, it was extremely light playware. It has 0 damage on it. I think there's one little rub right there under the right, passenger headlamp. But, I like this casting. It's double die cast. These have been around since probably 90, 91, 92, and it ran all the way to, 2000, something like that. Again, it's my style of VW. It's what I like. That's what really got me, growing my love for Volkswagen as a kid, and a young adult, and even now. So that's all I got to say about this one. Leather shark fin. Again, this one's almost too good. It won't ever get touched. It doesn't need to be customized. It's got good flair from, day one from Hot Wheels and Mattel. This is out of that 2021 Hot Wheels VW set. I opened this thing up on a video, I don't know, a week or two ago. This is the one I was talking about. Had really brilliant, just beautiful purple paint. This thing checks all the boxes. I mean, if you like the Volkswagen Caddies, this one and the other contender for the 4 or 5 that I do have is that new Surf's Up one that we opened up last night. It's kind of a hard pick for me. I like them both, but if I really had a gun to my head and I had to pick one right this minute, it'd still probably be this one. So this is probably the showstopper out of that set. I mean, the all 8 or 9 that are in it are really good, but they knocked it out of the park on this one. Again, this is a Hot Wheels. I guess you can call it a mainline, and the series that it ran was a VW series from 2021. And I can't remember what car this is because it's not labeled out of that sub-series. All right, straight from the Smokey Bear collection. I have a couple of Smokey Bear cars from Greenlight. This one I actually found down in Corpus in my travels down there. And this thing is just super cool. I don't even begin to want to know who would climb a ladder truck out of a Volkswagen chassis, but it fits the bill with the Smokey Bear line from Greenlight. It was a great addition to my collection of those. I've got probably 25 or so, including the only thing that's unopened is a Raw Chase International Scout. But again, one of my favorite things about the Greenlight VWs, especially the buses and the T2s and these crew cabs or what have you, the detail is just, no one beats it that I've seen. I mean, I haven't bought anything that's really above a shelf item, from what we find in our Walmarts and Targets and HEB Pluses and what have you. But the Greenlight VW line it's way on the top of the scale. All right, this is an older Matchbox mainline. This one I got in a trade. It's a blister pull. I'm not sure what year it is. I'm not looking at the bottom of the chassis on these, just because I'm trying to help conserve a little time for everybody. But I'm not sure where I got this one from and how long I've had it. It's fairly new. It may have been a blister crack, and for all I know, it may have been one of the ones that came from a friend of mine that had a bunch of these cars from, like I said, 98 to 2000. But this is, probably one of 10 colors in VW that just really kind of hits home, for nostalgia. And the livery with the VW bug stick guy, that's always really nice. I know M2 does that on some of their other castings that they're on. One or two of the ones down here in front of us. But if this thing had full details, like it would come from Matchbox nowadays, it'd be really nice. I'm glad to have it. It's a nice add to my collection, but this one may eventually get a little customized at some point. Okay, scratch that. I actually do have a bag for it. So this is year model 2000. Series 3, number 12 of 100. This is the sub-series To the Beach. And it's a 62 VW Beetle. And it was a blister pull from that friend of mine I work with. All right, this is a Carmen Ghia. I think it's a 62 model as well, year model. This is one of those 5-pack cars. I'm sure you guys saw this on that Matchbox 5-pack unboxing. This is the 2023 set of 5. I love the Carmen Ghia. It is literally the poor man's Porsche. There's just something about the way this car is shaped, and you know, if you're not really a Beetle guy and you're not really into the buses, you know, this is kind of a middle ground to have a little bit of Sportster in your life. You know, if you never could afford a Porsche 356A or, you know, some kind of variant like that, this would be a good compromise. So there you have it, Matchbox. It's a mainline. Obviously nothing too special, but it's got some decent detailing on it. Okay, this is one of the boxed Matchbox cars that I got at HEB Plus, I don't know, a few months ago. And this is a 2024 year run, car 43 out of 100. Beach Patrol Rescue is the livery on it. And they call this casting the 4x4 Beetle, or Beetle 4x4. This thing's just not cooperating tonight. I apologize. So, this is, like I said, this is one that didn't come on a card. It was one of the boxes. I just happened to find it with some other cars that are pretty desirable. And the casting's really neat. And Matchbox does a really good job of, you know, their paint work and what have you. But I really wish they would put some tempo detail on these things. Okay, this is an old trade. It's an M2 1953 VW Beetle, NHRA livery. I don't have the actual model number or the release, you know, number, but this thing is, it's really cool because I have a matching set. I don't have the full cube, if you will, but I know I have the Fox Body Mustang hatchback in this livery. I have the 3rd Gen Camaro in this livery. And I have the Willis Coupe. I think it's a 41 in this livery. And there's one more. So if they did make 6, I'm missing 1 or 2. I know I have those 4 or 5, whatever it is, including the Beetle. But this is probably my favorite M2 Beetle that I have, because it's actually one of the few that's correct and with no errors or no issues or whatever. And black on a VW Beetle from the 40s, 50s, 60s, even the 70s is another choice of mine. I mean, I'm not a big black fan, but there's just something about whenever they're done up with the right wheels and they got a big motor in them and the right stance when they're black, they're hard to beat. 2024, this is a VW T2 pickup. I like this casting because they put this thing on the ground, you know, and essentially these things were like a ramp truck. You know, they had the little storage bin on the sides and what have you. The color on this one is, I love it. You know, it's got that concrete cement gray. I like how they did the engine exposure in the rear is all chrome. You know, a lot of dress up action on it. And this is just a mainline from 2024. And this is part of the Hot Wheels Hot Truck sub-series. Don't know the number in that sub-series this one is, or the overall year collector number for that year, but this is what I have, and I couldn't tell you where I got this thing. It was probably a peg hanger at one point. I just picked it up. All right, I know we did a video on this one a few weeks ago. I did kind of fix the bumpers on it, and this is the one that had the engine that was, or the muffler assembly that was all loose in the back in that package. Fixed the tires. One of them still kind of the passenger front, but this is a M2. It was a Hobby Lobby find, 1960 VW van, Mr. Pibb livery, obviously. And this one is model variant A17, 2022 release, or year 2022 release number 5. This is the only Hot Wheels thing that I have, and I got this in a trade from a gal that I trade with. She's up in the Northwest, and these things are apparently like not everywhere. I don't like search hard for them, but what I do like about the Hot Wheels VW thing, like this one here, not only is the casting really nice, you know, it could use some detail on the front, but everything else is pretty good. But the top comes off. So let me see if I can get it real quick and show y'all. It just literally unsnaps and it goes into convertible mode, which is the greatest thing about the VW thing. I mean, it's not probably the greatest thing, but they are amphibious, believe it or not. I've never been in one in the water. I've rode one or two over the years. They're really neat, especially whenever they're if you get them up off the ground and you get some tires under them and kind of do the Desert Baja feel, get some long travel suspension under them, they are like a Volkswagen side by side. That is basically the best way I can describe them. The one I rode in wasn't like that. It was more of a factory height, you know, streetable rig. But I have seen them set up like this on all the videos on social media, and that'd be really cool to see. But the way the height of them is, and the way you open the doors, and then being full convertible. And he had a small roll bar cage in his, you know, the few that I've seen. That's how they do them, because they get crazy with them, you know, and 2,000 cc plus motors and turbos and all kinds of other jazz. But anybody who's watching that's a Facebook friend of mine on one of my groups, if you have a line on a couple of these, I know they make it in a khaki and a gray and a green. If you know anybody who's got some on cards or fresh blister pulls, hit me up, shoot me a message, because I'd really like to have a couple more of these. Okay, Hot Wheels Road Riders. I'm not sure when this car was released or what year it's from. It's a 65 fastback dragster. This is one of the cars that I had in one of my previous videos. It's in the garage in the display. I wanted y'all to get a little bit better look at it, because last time I showed it to y'all, it was just in my fingers. And the cool thing I love about these cars, besides them having rubber tires, and the paint is just, it's beautiful. I mean, just the way they do the graphics on these, it is pure 80s, 90s Volkswagen, you know, race. But they also open up to where you can tilt the front end, or you can put them together like that, which is really cool. I've got a couple more here I'm going to show y'all. This one just has a 65 on it, I guess, for the year model. And Volkswagen doesn't have like a race team or any kind of special livery on it, but very nice. These are also a little hard to come by. I got them from a guy I used to buy a lot of loose cars from. He's up in Illinois. I think I bought all three or the four that I have at the same time. I was glad to get them because I hadn't seen them like ever. I'm sure they're out there, but this might be like from the Boulevard era, whenever they were on standard size cards, you know, with Real Riders tires. I know. It's not the most glorious car and or casting, but I decided to keep these from a trade. I have this one and another yellow one I'll show y'all later. The car does have pretty good detail on it, and it is nowhere near a Volkswagen that I would remotely even own. But I kept these because when this version of Beetle came out, you know, in 97 or 8, whenever it was, that was like a major advancement, you know, for Volkswagen. And it was a big timepiece. And these things were super popular. And I'm not sure if you ever rode one of the turbo ones. It was a hardtop, but it's actually a pretty fun little car. Not that I would ever own it. Not that I would ever condone owning it or I'd ever want one. But I did have the opportunity to ride in one that, you know, had some mods, and, you know, it was lowered and had some wheels and some suspension work. And, you know, granted, it wasn't what some people think it was that owned it, but it was still a fun car. You know, it kind of takes you back in time, and Matchbox, like I said, does a really good job at least putting the effort and detail on this one. So I elected to keep it. The other color variant for for some reason doesn't have tampos on the rear, and we'll see that later. In fact, I'll just show you the next one. That way you can see where they kind of missed the buck. I don't really have any information on this thing besides, you know, hey, it's orange. It's a Matchbox. It doesn't say what year it's from or what have you. But anyway, let me show you the yellow one. I don't know if, hell, for all I know, the yellow one I have may be an error. They can't be that far apart. They may actually be from the same year, so who knows? Hang tight, I'll show it to you. Okay, so apparently this is one that I bought in the box pretty recently. It's a 2019 VW convertible. This should be a 24 or maybe a 2025. I'm not real sure. I got this one at HEB Plus. Like I said, it was in the box, Matchbox mainline. But if you see, there's no tampos on the rear. So I don't know if this orange one I had is a little earlier, from 2020 or 2021, you know, year release, and they just decided to change it up, or they may have missed a buck on this one. But again, it matches the other one. It's the only two I have, and I guess I'll do some research on it and get back with y'all. All right, this guy here, he was definitely a blister pool. I'm not sure where I got him from, and I don't have any info on when it was released, but again, this just speaks in volumes. 70s metallic green, and why would you not throw it on a VW Bug with wood paneling? I'm sure some of y'all have seen this one because I've seen it on several posts, but it's a really pretty car for just a mainline. The paint is really nice, and the wood paneling is kind of a cute accent. So it's good to get this one under a good light and let everybody look at it, because I'm sure a lot of people have this one, you know, still on a blister. Okay, this is one that was given to me from a guy I work with that does all the customs. This is a Greenlight. They call this a Champagne Edition. I didn't look to see what the year model was on the bottom. But this one was really neat because this really resembles one that was actually parked in my driveway at some point in my life. That's a whole nother story. The only thing that was different about it, like the only thing, was it wasn't white on top. It was like the cream or the khaki or the buff, but it was the same color on bottom, a little different color on top. And it was actually the same year model, or at least that era. I mean, it had the same exact grill. It literally is exactly like one that was in my driveway for a little bit. All right, Volkswagen Golf GTI, or Jetta GTI. This was one of the cars that's in that Volkswagen 5-pack. I'm sure you guys saw it on that other video I did. Matchbox in this color, man, it works. The axles on this thing are a little bit loose. I'm not sure what's up with that. You can see one tire sticking out further than the other, but it does roll just fine. Everything else is just fine. I think this is the only one I have in this casting, like, period. But this is a 2023, again, the Matchbox VW 5-pack. All right, VW Squareback. This is one I bought loose. It's a Hot Wheels art car. Not sure what year it's from. If I had to guess, it's probably a 22 or 23, maybe a little newer. That's all I really know about it. It's a 69 model. All right, I know we opened this one up on a previous video, but again, I'm just kind of going through the motions here. Greenlight. This is a 68 Volkswagen thing. 2022, it's a Black Bandit. Series 27. This is a Hobby Lobby find. And again, the casting itself from Greenlight and the thing is super tiny. Like, it's smaller than a Hot Wheels Miata. It's small, but it's very detailed and it's very accurate. And I love the thing. I always have, always will. It's just so different, and I'm glad to get these from Greenlight. and they do such a good job on all the Volkswagen stuff. All right, currently this is the only Johnny Lightning VW that I own. This one I got in a trade a long time ago. No, I take that back. According to the bag, it says it was the guy I buy a bunch of loose cars from. I saw this thing in all his pictures, and I said, "There's no way that's a premium-ish Carmen Ghia." Sure enough, I thought it may have been, like an M2 or a Greenlight, but it's a Giant Lightning. And the base of this car is super nice because not only is it double die cast, like most cars from that brand are, it's like really, really, really polished chrome looking. 65 Carmen Ghia, dark red, white top. Definitely one of my favorite cars in the VW collection because, for one, it's the only Giant Lightning that I have. And this color combo on a Carmen Ghia with steel wheels or nice mod wheels, it don't matter. Convertible, hardtop, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It suits me. All right, this is a mystery car, a number 3 mystery car from 2022 in the Mix 3 lot. I got this from a guy I trade with who's up in Virginia. It's the new Volkswagen Beetle. I have another mystery car I'll show you here in just a second. That's a standard first gen Beetle, if you will. I think it's a late 50s or 60 model VW, but it's cool that I have 2 mystery models. This is a number 3. Number 3 and number 2 cars aren't as desirable, but they are licensed castings that are, I wouldn't really call them chase cars, but they're chaseable, right? And then the number 1 cars in these mystery cars seems to be like the Chase or the Hunt or whatever you want to call it. Okay, this is the one I was telling you about. I believe this is a 25. I'm not sure if this is mix 1, 2, or 3, but this is car number 1. So if you look on the side of those boxes, they have the gold flame for car number 1, and then the other 2, number 2 and number 3 car, let's just call them. Again, don't quote me verbatim on this, but let's just consider the number 2 and 3 cars in the mystery boxes as treasure hunts, right? And let's call this one like a super treasure hunt. The quantities don't even remotely equate to like what I'm talking about in the main line, because there should be, a number 2 and number 3 in every box. I know there's not always a number 1 car in every box, but just kind of think of that as how these things are, portrayed, let's say. I'm sure someone may have some more info in the comments on, the mystery cars, but they're really cool because, the off chance you see some sitting on the shelf at Walmart or whatever, you pick through a couple of them and just, it takes you a minute, and don't go through all of them. It takes way too long. And when I've done that before, if I found more of these cars, I take a few for myself and I hang a bunch on the pegs and leave them for the next guy, or leave them on top of the boxes, save them the trouble. If you already went through it, don't take them all and leave them for the next guy. It's just like paying it forward. All right, the Coffer Racer. This is basically a tracked, slammed, body-kitted bug. And this was something that I grew up watching similar to on TV on the tube many, many years ago when they were road racing these things, and that was popular. Momo Wheels livery, that thing it just shines and shines and shines for days. This was actually a yard sale find or a garage sale find. This was kind of sitting in with a bunch of other cars, and I got to looking at it, and it had a few little bumps and bruises on the back. I said, oh man, I gotta have that. And this was when I first started getting back into the hobby. All right, another M2. This is a 56 Beetle, Deluxe USA model, whatever that means. This is from 2023, release 87, and the model number is R83. I bought this one from someone. It wasn't a shelf find, at least I don't think it was, and I pulled it out of the box. It did come in a cube. All right, 69 VW Type 3 square back panel. The Hearst shifter livery is really neat. I would never dream that, you know, there'll be that collaboration, but hey, they gotta make shifters for everybody, right? This is a Greenlight Club V-Dub. If you watched my previous videos, Greenlight, Greenlight, Greenlight on the Volkswagen, the buses, and any of them. But what I like about the Club V-Dub is they've done it for several years. I'm not sure when they started, but you can pretty much guarantee every time you see one of these things, if you're into VWs, just get it, because it's going to be right, it's going to be spot on, and you're going to be happy, especially for the money. You can catch them at Hobby Lobby now. I think they're as cheap as $7.99. So a really great value. You know, they're not $10 or $12 like some of the other things they have listed there. But really pretty car. The gold paint is just, it's superior. I really think it's funny how they have that tow hitch on the back of that thing. I've seen VWs tow some things, but this car, I just can't remotely picture it towing anything above, you know, a garden tractor. All right, you saw us bust this one out of the card the other night. This is literally one of the best purple variants of anything Hot Wheels has put out in a couple years. This one and the Caddy from that VW series. This is a new Hot Ones, I think 2025 Volkswagen T2 pickup. This is car 2 out of 8 for the new run of the Hot Ones. And I found this one up in Rockwall, Texas at a Target. And it apparently is pretty hard to fetch because I have not seen it anywhere else. I was wanting to get it for another friend of mine, but I haven't come across one hanging on the pegs. But as you can see, this one will really mesmerize you because it has all that contrast with that orange and that yellow and the detailing front and rear, and you know, the slotted mags, if you will, and the stance, and that purple paint is just, oh mamma mia, it looks good. Okay, 2024 Ultra Hot, car 2 out of 8. This is the Volkswagen T1 GTR. These things are a little tough to fetch too. I actually found this one at Mesquite Target, up visiting some family, you know, kind of like the Rockwall and, you know, those other locations up there. I found another one that was traded. Believe it or not, the only one I had found hanging on a peg was in New York City. New York City! Up there, the Targets in Manhattan are literally like basements. You go down an escalator, and the Targets are basically markets. They're real small, but they actually had this one like this hanging, and I grabbed it, and I wasn't like totally crazy about it. And I said, I'll find another one. And someone I was talking to knew I had it, and they wanted it, and I said, fine, you know, we'll trade this for it. But I regretted that, you know, shortly after, and I found this one up, you know, in North Texas, and I acquired this one. Okay, there's a cute story behind this one. Maybe some of you can appreciate it. So this is a Hot Wheels Premium 2024 Car Culture World Tour, car 2 out of 5. I actually bought this car on Amazon. My wife was, you know, she checks on there once a week or so for me just to see if there's anything remotely cheap, and they had this thing marked down $3.99. Okay, it was when I first started buying. Diecast pretty heavy, you know, last spring, and I said, yeah, throw it in the cart and it'll get delivered. Well, it comes in the box, right? Gets delivered to the porch. We never have anything damaged from Amazon, like ever. Okay, the one time we do have some damaged box or, you know, shipment from Amazon, it looks like someone stepped on this thing with their cowboy boots in the mudroom, okay? And it was beyond destroyed. The card, and it was all folded over. And I was like, I was so pissed because I just started buying the premiums. I was like, well, this one's coming out of the card. And I guess you can say this is the originator of why I started cutting cars off the card, because this is really where it started. VW Golf Mark 7. And like I said, it's car number 2 out of that World Tour Series. Okay, another Matchbox Beetle 4x4. This was one that I bought on a card, I think at a dollar store. It's the only one out of that series that I kept. I have the bus that's Sugar Daddy or one of those things. I wasn't really that crazy about it. It looks really, really tuneish. But the only reason I think I kept this car is because of the way it has the green, and it has green anodized outline wheels in the rear and like a polished silver aluminum in the front. All right, another Coffer Racer. This was also bought from the guy I buy a bunch of loose cars from up in Illinois. Moon Eyes and Goodyear livery. Not sure when this release was, but the Moon stuff is really nice, and I know it's really sought after for a lot of reasons, but the yellow paint on this thing is nice. It has just the right amount of black, and it really fits this casting. Alright, this is a custom that I got from one of the guys that I work with. I told y'all about this one in the first video. Starts out as obviously a cool combi. It's got, rubber tire, custom wheels on it, a little detailing on it. He did all the tampos himself, painted the headlights. And see how good these things look. This thing looks like a premium. But this is just a plain Jane old mainline that he got tired of messing with, obviously, or he wanted to do something different, and he was gracious enough to give me this one. I got one more I'll show y'all, which is one I parked in one of the garages. But again, a really nice example of how good this thing can look when it's in a custom. Okay, here's y'all a throwback. She's got a little damage on her, obviously, but this is the VW Sunwagon. Not real sure when this one was released. If I had to guess, it's probably from the mid-late 80s, maybe a little earlier. This one will definitely go to the guy who does my customs. I've been holding off on this one, so if he's watching, just know it's coming to you. I couldn't give you all the good stuff, but I do like the retractable roof, like the canopy top. Thought that was a really cool feature. And this thing was actually all there. I mean, it's got some bent wheels and stuff, but we'll do a chassis off restoration and do a wheel swap on it. And I think this one should actually stay the way it is color wise. Obviously he'll probably talk me out of that, which I'm fine with. He's the artist. I take his word for church on these matters. He's the boss once they basically go into his mailbox. But thought this was kind of a cool share. Obviously once this thing is done, I'll show it off later on the Facebook page when I start it, or maybe do a short video on it. Alright, again, repeat of one we saw us bust off the car the other night. This is from that 2021 or 2022 Hot Wheels VW series, car 6 out of 8, custom VW Beetle. This was in that mystery gift box from that friend of mine in Rio Grande City. Alright, I don't have the bag on this one in front of me, but obviously this is one of the ones I had in a previous video. Greenlight Club VW. Love this car. There's just something about that Falcon livery with those white wheels. I don't know, man. It just tricks my trigger. Besides the dog hair that's on there. I'm sure you guys can see that in 1080p resolution. But this one will go back in the garage. But I figured we'd get a little turntable action on this one because I like it so much. Alright, another one of the 65 Fastback Real Riders. I'm pretty sure these cars are Boulevards. Rubber tires, and again, the body comes off or tilts up, to show the cage and the chassis. Livery on this one is, I think it just shows the drivers. Kind of a flat red, but it has a little bit of metallic in it. I really think at some point this one needs a little treatment for some detailing on the headlights and taillights, because it's unlike the other two that have it. I'm sorry. The black one I'm going to show y'all here in a little while. It's got front tempo lenses, but the tail lights aren't done. And the other one we showed y'all earlier, let me look at it real quick. Yeah, it's the same way. It just has painted headlights on the front. But they didn't do it on this one. It also kind of resembles to me like the Cool Classics, which sneak peek, I'm going to be opening a few of those up in a video probably next week or the week after. I've got 4 or 5 of those, and since I'm getting a lot of things pulled off of cards, those are going to be really nice and a good treat for everybody. All right, another VW T2 pickup. This one was bought loose on Facebook. I think I paid $1 for this thing, if I'm being honest. What I do like about it, you really couldn't tell in the pictures when I bought it, but the way they kind of fade, blend, light paint the casting with that copper, metallic. I like how it has all the shading. Like it's almost like patina's trying to start, on the casting. All right, this one was a gift from the guy, like I said, I work with that does the customs. I told him I like VWs, so he put me a little gift bag together, and this one happened to be in it. Probably a blister pull from, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 years ago. I'm not real sure the delivery on there, but just a VW bug casting. It's in really good shape. It rolls really good. It looks like it's tilted kind of weird, but it rolls just fine. All right, 52 Beetle Matchbox. I have another one I showed y'all earlier like this. This one actually has some decent paint work on the real tail lights. Nothing on the front. Model release 2000. I guess they kind of done some specialty stuff, for the new millennium, if you will. Nothing too special. It's got a little rag top on top. It's kind of neat. All right, another double die cast variant, the VW Bug. This is probably a 90, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 release, somewhere in there. I do remember this car being around whenever I was getting out of it, because I was getting a little old for them. But I remember, I don't think I had this car, but some younger friends of mine had it. And I've seen it plenty at garage sales and all that. I got this one, I think this is a trade, or it may have been a loose car purchase. I don't have any info on the bag, but it's really nice overall. I think it has a little chip and ding here and there, but it's next to perfect. Looks like it's straight out of VW Trims magazine, man. All right, Matchbox. It's a 63 Carmen Ghia. This was one of the cars I got in that big trade from that guy in Arkansas. I think it's the only Matchbox Carmen Ghia convertible that I have. Really cute paint job. I mean, I like the white interior on these cars. The only thing that really really irks me on how they do these, especially on this one, is it has that plain Jane gray, base that looks like it's dunked in silver paint, but not. But overall, this car looked really good with some detailing and a wheel swap. Interior is real plain Jane, obviously, even for being an open convertible. But, you can't beat it for $1, right?